Hi friends, Zoe here. So today I'm going to talk to you about something that I feel extremely passionate about, and if you're a friend of mine, you may have already heard this little chit chat that I've had before. So this video is all about why everyone at some point in their lives should definitely take a trip by themselves. I took a big trip by myself to Europe when I had just completed third year university, and this was probably the best thing that I could have done for my life at that point in my life. This was the case for a few reasons. One, because I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Not like I have it all figured out now, but I was kind of at this point where I was on a straight line to becoming a teacher, but really inside I didn't really feel like that's exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get off of Vancouver Island, but I didn't exactly know what my options were, or if I was even capable of getting off Vancouver Island. And also because I was in a long-term relationship for about 5 years on and off, and I felt like I didn't really have the opportunity to be my own person. So my trip was amazing for me, so I'll tell you a little bit about it and kind of the reasons why it was so awesome for me, and hopefully that will inspire you to take a trip by yourself one day. I went to Europe by myself for 2 months. This is the first time that I went somewhere by myself. This is the first time I went to Europe. I went to Denmark first because that's where my family lives, and I got to visit everyone. Hi everyone in Denmark. I miss you, and I'll be back as soon as I can. I promise. But yeah, so Denmark was a beautiful country. I seriously got to see the whole thing because my family was so wonderful. They passed me off family to family, and I got to see where my bestefar, my grandfather, grew up and worked and went to school, and it was amazing. It was very emotional because I was very close with my grandfather, but it was also very comforting to know that I could experience a part of his life that I hadn't experienced before. That was a big part of his life, his growing up and everything like that. So that part of it was really important to me, and that was really wonderful that I got to experience that. I spent a month in Denmark traveling around. Then beginning of June, I took off backpacking by myself. I had a couple of friends that I met up with along the way briefly for like a day or two, but this was a trip that I planned myself, and I booked all the flights myself, and I was super nervous about finding hostels, speaking other languages and all that, but it was kind of crazy how everything kind of just seemed to work out for me. So the thing about traveling by yourself is you will, no matter what, even if you're traveling with somebody else in a foreign country, you're gonna find yourself into situations and problems that you don't really know how to get out of, but you have no choice, especially when you're by yourself, to get yourself out of these situations. So it puts you out of your comfort zone and challenges you to figure out ways about certain situations. And it's also kind of crazy how things kind of work out. So I'll give you an example here. When I first landed in Rome, I was so obsessed with going to see the Trevi Fountain because that was in the Lizzie McGuire movie, and if you know me, you know it's my favorite movie. So I got to Rome, and I think it was maybe like 4 p.m. or something, and it was obviously super sunny out and nice, so I unpacked my things in my hostel and I took off for a run in a tank top and shorts, and was like, oh, I'm going to find a Trevi Fountain, grabbed one of those little hostel maps that aren't really maps, especially if you've been to Rome, you know that the streets are kind of, they're not the way that they are on the map, okay? So I'm running through the streets of Rome all over the place just trying to find the Trevi Fountain, and finally find the fountain, throw the one coin that I had in. I had nothing else on me, so I throw my coin in, make my wish, and then I decide to head back. So I'm running back, and then I realize, I'm like, where the hell am I? Like, where? I don't recognize any of this stuff. I didn't know which street to take. I realized at the end of it that my map was just pretty much streets with monuments just placed largely all over the map. It wasn't a real map. So I'm screwed. I talked to a few Italian police officers. They couldn't understand me. Nobody could understand me. And at one point I'm talking to a man at a storefront, and this couple come up to me and they're like, oh, you speak English? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Canada, and I'm lost. And they were the nicest couple ever. Long story short, they walked me back to my hostel, which was over an hour away walk, and where they were staying was about a half an hour walk away from that, and they were so kind to me. We talked the whole time. They told me all about their story, about how they met on eHarmony, and it was amazing. And it's challenging when you have these situations and you have to try and find a way out, but something always works out for you. There was another time when I was in Greece and I was going to catch a ferry, but I got to the ferry early and I decided to find the beach for the day. Glyfada is called. And so I take the bus, the beach. The thing about Greek is that the alphabet is completely different, so it's not like Italian or French where you could kind of guess what something is. No, this was not happening in Greece. So I catch this bus, I go to the beach for the day, I get super sunburned, and I'm heading back to catch the ferry, and I'm the last one on the bus. Like, everybody's off the bus, I don't know where my stop is, I'm sitting on the bus, and a lady comes and she sits down beside me. And this was one of the craziest experiences of my entire life. I have told a few people this story, and yeah, it gives me goosebumps every single time. So I'm sitting on this bus, and this lady comes and sits beside me, and she can't speak English, but I'm holding a map, and she points at it like she wants me to show her where I need to go. So I showed her I'm going to Piraeus Port, I think it was called, and she goes up and speaks to the bus driver, comes back and sits beside me. Bus driver drives around wherever and stops off right at the port where I need to be. And craziest thing, I get off the bus and I turn around to say thank you to her, and she's gone. And the bus drives away. And she was getting off the bus with me. Like, it's the craziest thing, you guys. And since then, I've gone to, I like to go to the psychics, but I've gone to a few psychics, and they always tell me, they're like, you have protectors when you travel, you have protectors. There's people who are watching over you. And they're like, you know it. And it's the craziest thing because I know it. And when you allow yourself to go on a type of trip where you're open to all sorts of different kinds of experiences and interpreting them in certain ways, you'll get a more spiritual outlook on life. And that's definitely what I got from traveling through Europe by myself. There's people that I met on my trip who I'll never see again. They either said something to me or something happened. Like, the weirdest thing, the universe kind of presented lessons to me that I need to learn, or stories that I could learn from, and I did. Basically, there's something to be learned from everybody, and when you take the opportunity to really put yourself out there and be more outgoing, to meet people of all ages, all different countries, you'll learn so much. I learned an incredible amount about other people, but also about myself through other people. Pretty much, I just had the pure opportunity to really get to know myself. When I got back from Europe, I remember just couldn't wait to go back. But also, I came back and I felt so much more independent. I was like, I went on a trip by myself. I planned the trip by myself. I went on the trip by myself. I woke up and did whatever I wanted. It made me realize that, no, I didn't have to stay on Vancouver Island. I actually was capable of moving somewhere and then toss my applications out all over the country, and that's how I wound up in Toronto. But at the same time, if you feel like you're kind of lost, or maybe a bit cloudy, or maybe don't know yourself to the best that you can, going on a trip by yourself is the best thing you can do. I just recommend this for everybody. I know I've had these deep conversations with a few of my friends who have gone on similar journeys to myself, and they've been open to all the crazy experiences that can happen, and it does nothing but good things for your life. It's that quote that says, travel is the only thing you can buy that makes you richer. It truly is. I miss my trip to Europe every day, and I can't wait to go back on another adventure. But just, if you go somewhere by yourself, just go and be open-minded. Obviously be safe and make smart choices, but the universe will present you with certain people, they'll present you with certain experiences, they'll present you with certain situations, and it kind of makes you just want to smile up at the sky or laugh, because you're like, I know exactly why that happened. I know exactly why I met that person, or I know exactly what this experience was supposed to teach me. And it's crazy, but it's the best thing you can do. And I wouldn't really consider myself a religious person, but I'm quite spiritual. That trip really presented that to me, that I value spirituality and spiritual experiences, and it's amazing. So let me know if you guys have taken trips by yourself, where you've gone. I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, I will talk to you guys later, and if you have a trip to book, just book it. Just book it. Just go. Bye.